Well, good morning, everyone. We are back for our second NFL fantasy matchup this week. And as usual, I have both Jimmy as well as Jed, and all of us are in the central time zone in Chicago. Good morning to you, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, before we jump into news and notes, yesterday's game, Thursday Night Football, right? I start Mac Jones, and I picked him up because we're having that debate between Cam Newton and Mac Jones. And in our keeper league, Jed, I needed a slow and steady quarterback to get me points. He got me 11 points, a little bit disappointed, but that's where you. But Mac Jones, 207 yards, 1 touchdown. We were all watching Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris. It was pretty much a clear split. They both got 12 carries, 10 carries, around 60 yards in both of them. Did any of you guys get a chance to watch the game at all?
I watched the first half, and I fortunately played New England defense in one league and got like 25 points, so that was really nice. But yeah, I also had Kyle Pitts in another league, and they did a really nice job of shutting him down.
He only had 29 yards yesterday.
Yeah, 3 catches for 29 yards. Though, the thing that was important, I heard Belichick after the game, and he basically was like, we were determined not to let Kyle Pitts beat us. And he basically said, I'm glad we only face him once a season. So it just made me realize, I think Pitts is better than we think. Like, he hasn't had great production this year, but it's because people are game planning for him already as a rookie. And so I think he's very good. They just got to figure out how to start to beat some of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hey, Judge, speaking about the New England defense, 25 points, I started Nick Folk, and he got me 16 points yesterday. Look, we don't always talk about kickers, but he did really well. 16 points for me out of a kicker.
Hey, I'll say, if you are, in the top half of the leagues and you're starting to trend towards playoffs, don't ignore the kicker position. You have to have at least a top 10 kicker. And a lot of times you draft your kicker at the beginning of the year, you don't even look at it and you don't realize that, hey, your guy, either that team is not, like if you had the Washington kicker, they're not scoring a lot of points. You want a kicker on a team scoring a lot of points, ideally kicking in an indoor stadium, not outdoors. So start thinking about that stuff, because those few points can win you, a week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or wouldn't you say a lot of times, let's say you don't have a top 10 kicker and everybody has the Zerloins, all of that, then just play matchups every single week. Just scan the waiver wire and figure out what their matchups are.
Yeah, for kickers, I don't like matchups as much. I would say I look more at weather and indoor, outdoor than anything else, because it's just too random. Like, it's really based on scoring. But yeah, I mean, if you have to, I think you can stream kickers. The thing that streaming really works on is defense. If you have team defenses, I know our league, we have, IDP players, but team defenses, you can definitely stream and pick up a lot of points that way.
Jim, let me go in terms of Atlanta running game. We were talking about what Cordero Patterson out, Mike Davis doing well. Look, Mike Davis had 3 carries for 1 yard. Wayne Gallman, who we thought would do okay, 1 carry for -3 yards. But somehow or another, a guy that nobody talked about at all, Quadre Allison, had the most carries at 9 carries at 34 yards. But other than that, there's absolutely nothing at all.
I mean, overall, didn't you guys think with Cordell Patterson being out, one of them, whether it's Gallman or Mike Davis, would do pretty well, but they pretty much did nothing, and which confirms to me that Mike Davis is not going to do anything this year, because if you can't even do it with Cordell Patterson out, you're done. I was really thinking that the bulk of the carries was going to go to Wayne Gallman just because of what happened last year and even last week. I was suspect, though, because I know the coach this past week said that a lot of those yards and fantasy points came during garbage time. So I wonder if they just don't have confidence into Gallman as well as also with Davis.
Yeah, I'm glad that Cordero Patterson is supposed to come back next week, so it should shore up some of those points. Yeah. Hey, who would you guys keep between Cordero Patterson or Kyle Pitts?
Oh, Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts?
Yeah, I mean, it's harder to get a tight end, a really good rookie tight end. I mean, for me, I just feel like, yeah, Cordell Patterson did really well this year, and he's got value. But are we sure he's going to do the same thing next year, right? So that's how I kind of look at it.
Yeah. Now, the one thing we noticed with Mike Davis is that Carolina system does well with running backs. I mean, Chuba Hubbard did okay, but Christian McCaffrey has thrived. Mike Davis did really, really well under that system as well, too. One thing, Jed, Aaron Jones, believed to have suffered he only has a mild sprain, out 1 to 2 weeks. But man, AJ Dillon is still the guy to own, because if he does well, we may not be seeing Aaron Jones next year in the Packers uniform.
Yeah, exactly. They may bring him back slowly. If Dylan does well, it's kind of a nice excuse for them. So it'll be interesting to see. Definitely something to monitor. I don't know if you guys heard the news that Derrick Henry might actually make it back for the playoffs,
yeah. I think I heard that.
Which is crazy. Again, just shows you some of these guys physically. Reminds me of Adrian Peterson. They just, not only are they physical specimens, but they heal fast too. So they're saying that he could make it by week 17 and be ready for the playoffs, which is just crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, Jim, I'm looking at our trade that we made a couple of weeks ago. Christian McCaffrey and Chase Edmonds for Antonio Gibson and Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows how much I love Antonio Gibson. He did get 20 points, but it looks like a fair win, especially if McCaffrey does and doesn't get injured for the next couple of weeks.
I mean, Chase Edmonds is going to be out for the season. And I looked at it and just said, essentially, it's Aaron Rodgers for Christian McCaffrey. You got Rodgers because you needed a quarterback. And for me, I got somebody who I can put on my dynasty league and potentially can help me beat Jed in the championship rounds.
Hey, I'm getting hurt right now, man. I've lost 3 in a row in that league. So now that both Henry and Cook Cook's been okay, but once Henry went down, my team has been hurting.
Yeah.
But honestly, Jim, I really like Antonio Gibson because I see him as a dynasty. I'll probably keep him. Ryan Fitzpatrick was supposed to be the starting QB. He did very well. McLaren was supposed to thrive under her and open up the lane for Gibson. All that went in the crappers week 1. Tyler Heineke has been okay, but people have struggled. And then he got that shin injury as well, too. I still have high hopes in Antonio Gibson.
Did you hear the rumors? I don't even know if it's true, but did you hear the rumors that Washington wants to go after Deshaun Watson in the offseason?
Oh,
yeah, they were talking about that. They were talking about, I guess there was some talk that they want to go after Deshaun Watson. And they said if Watson goes to the Redskins, automatically those guys would become, those guys would be a great team.
Yeah, but at the same time, do you really think it's a realistic choice? Because with everything that the Washington football team have been dealing with in terms of toxic workplace, the wife taking over for Dan Snyder, all of that stuff, do you really want to bring that into your picture and bring all of the other stuff up all over again?
I look at it and just say it's the best time to bring it in, because if you're already getting criticized for it, you might as well do it, and then win football games and everyone will forget about it.
Yeah, I just started watching Ted Lasso. You guys ever watch that? I started watching.
Is it good?
Well, it's interesting. It's basically like Major League. You guys remember Major League?
Yeah, I love Major League Baseball.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like the owner is trying to get the team to tank, but it's like a soccer team. And it's this American coach that they brought in who doesn't know soccer. So I just watched the first episode, but I had so many people telling us we got to watch it. So my wife and I started watching yesterday.
Yeah. They say that you will get a lot of leadership lessons, good or bad, from watching Ted Lasso.
Okay. Hey, I need that.
I mean, look at Halloween. A lot of people were dressed up as Ted Lasso. So I was thinking, a lot of people really like that show.
Yeah. Now, with that said, I was really hoping Ryan Fitzpatrick by week 8, week 9 would have come back. They now have said that he is not healed from his hip injury. He will probably be out for the entire year. Heineke will be starting. Man, that was a disappointment. This week, they are playing the Carolina Panthers, so it'll be interesting to see how Cam Newton does against Ron Rivera.
Oh, I think like you guys know, I think Newton, I don't know. If I needed a quarterback, that's the guy that I take a chance on. I think Washington is just world of hurt. They've been a huge disappointment this year. And, Tommy, I would agree that Gibson is someone you can still take a flyer on and still have high hopes for. But I would just temper those because, I think until they get that quarterback situation figured out, they're just not able to shift to being a pure running team. So it just hurts them too much.
So I'm watching NFL Network. Have you guys been keeping up with this Antonio Brown report about his
fake vaccine card?
They're sitting there talking about it right now.
Yeah.
Also, how do you get irregularities on a COVID-19 vaccination card?
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy what people are willing to do.
He paid $500 for that card. He paid $500.
Man, those things are so. I don't know if so. Okay, so here's a blast from the past. When I was in college, I was part of a group of the kids that were figuring out how to make fake IDs.
Yeah.
And it was pretty sophisticated. Like, you would have different layers for the holograms, for the signatures, and you kind of have to layer them with plastic and then burn them in and stuff. But man, those vaccination cards, those would be the easiest things to fake.
Oh
They
yeah,
are
totally.
they
Yeah.
are horrible.
They're
So
card stock. They're like an index card.
yeah, like it should be like a piece of cake to get like a really good one.
Well, and here's my thing. How do you have irregularities, right? So if you have it, all you got to do is just copy what somebody else did and you'll be fine. My guess is the irregularities, knowing a little bit of this, is so you have to have a booster or you have to have the second dose 3 weeks after. Knowing him, he didn't know that. So he put down like 2 random dates. And I bet that's how they got him.
Well, I heard, I don't know if you guys, there was a family that got detained. They were trying to fly, I think, overseas. I forgot where, but essentially they had vaccine cards for kids at that time, for kids who were like, 8 and 10 or something, and then they hadn't been approved yet. And so they were like, how do you have this?
Yeah. One other thing is, sorry about that. Someone's texting me with all these random questions. Kyler Murray, most likely it's going to be close, but he's going to play in week 11 against the Seahawks. Let's say, for instance, he doesn't play, and with Matthew Stafford out, right? Who would you like and pick? Would you like a Ryan Tannehill, David Carr, Tua, or Jimmy Garoppolo, or Daniel Jones? Or do you like any of these guys out of that who you would start?
Tannehill's the best one out of that group.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Because I have Tannehill and David Carr, and I've been looking at David Jones and Tua. They're too inconsistent. Tannehill will at least get you a consistent 18 to 22 points. And that's actually, I mean, if you look at your team, that's the best that you can do.
Yeah. What about yourself, Jed?
No, I agree with that. I mean, you guys know I dropped Tannehill because I had 3 quarterbacks, Burrow, and Murray, but I think Tannehill is the best group. In fact, I'm surprised you didn't take a chance on Tannehill as opposed to Mac Jones.
Yeah. The other thing, I don't know if you guys have been watching it as well too. Saquon Barkley is going to come back this week, so I'm paying attention to him. Right now, I'm not starting him though.
No.
And then I'm also hesitant because who is it? Justin Herbert from San Diego was very limited this week. So I'm just worried because all of these guys are on playoff teams for me. And I'm just at that place where if I lose 1 or 2 games, I'm out of the playoffs. So I'm being very careful about who I pick. So a guy like Tannehill is actually really important for me because I need those consistent points.
Yeah. And A.J. Brown has been doing pretty well, and Tennessee has been on the roll. And with them starting now at the same time, Deontay Foreman, you have high hopes or decently high hopes for. But again, you don't know how well he's going to do. Tannehill might be a safe bet for that one.
I mean, and their defense is actually pretty good as well, too, for Tennessee. And so I feel like that relieves the pressure off of the offense for Tannehill to have to feel like he has to manufacture touchdowns or points. So I actually think he's in the best position in terms of like fantasy.
Hey, Jed, Alvin Kamara did not participate on Thursday's practice, and it looks like he is probably won't play again this week.
Oh, that's not good. That hurts me in a couple.
Yeah, Mark Ingram, I think, has already said he's prepared to play.
Yeah, Ingram's been a really good pickup for anyone who got him. He's looked pretty good down there. So, yeah, no, that's disappointing to hear. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah. Alex Collins was downgraded to did not play on Thursday. Chris Carson is unlikely to come off injured reserve. Man, that means, Jim, you either have Rashad Penny, DJ Dallas, or Travis Homer. If you're desperate for running back, who would you even pick?
I mean, I think out of that group, you would pick Rashard Penny, but it's going to be a 3-headed committee for Seattle. I mean, if you can find somebody else, that'd be great. But out of the 3, I would pick Rashard Penny. I do think this is maybe indicating the end of Chris Carson's because I think if he can't even come back, I mean, he's already old and they were already suspect at him. My guess is Seattle's going to try to draft a running back in this in the draft coming up next year. But I do see him potentially moving on.
Now, with that, I would probably say is Rashad Penny has had his chances. He has always been suspect. I would actually try DJ Dallas. I mean, I think he has potential to actually do decently well. over Rashad Penny.
Don't you think that Penny for sure is going to get the bulk of the carries if Alex Collins is not going to go? Whether or not DJ Dallas is going to have a big long run, but I do think your starter or the primary person is going to be what's his name? Rashard Penny.
Yeah. Hey, Jed, Elijah Mitchell, broken finger. Here's the problem with Elijah Mitchell that we've seen. He gets a lot of carries. They give him the ball a lot, but they don't give it to him in the red zone. And that's the problem is he'll get you like 15 carries, 16 yards, but no touchdowns. So here's my dilemma, right? I have to play either James Robinson, Elijah Mitchell, or Antonio Gibson. Who would you pick?
Ooh, it's between Antonio Gibson and
James Robinson.
James Robinson, yeah. And actually, I think I'd go with James Robinson actually
over San Francisco. They're playing San Francisco.
Yeah, I know they're playing San Francisco, but just that he's going to be the featured guy no matter what. He's going to get more carries. He's going to get the goal line carries. Gibson had a really good week last week though, so that's the only thing that's giving me pause. But as we just talked about, Washington without solid quarterback play.
Yeah.
I think Carolina's going to jump on them too. I think they're going to be coming from behind. The Jags, man, don't sleep on the Jags. They've been playing really well the last few weeks. They've almost had some pretty big upsets. Obviously got their first win. So, that could continue against the 49ers.
I mean, I like James Robinson. He's actually pretty good. I mean, and honestly, he's again consistent 17 to 25 points. And so I like that with Gibson, you never know if he'll score 3 touchdowns or he'll only run for like 30 yards. So for me, I mean, in these days right now, especially as you're heading into the playoffs, consistency is the key in terms of who you play.
Yeah. Hey, Jim, let me ask you a quick question. Jed, one of our guys that Jimmy and I are in the league with, he was telling us over dinner this past weekend that he stockpiled all of the tight ends. I was wondering, why does he have 4 tight ends? He purposely stockpiled the tight end so none of us would have it. So now, look, my tight end is Mo Alley-Cox. All right, he stinks.
Yeah, I think we'll know him. He's our friend Arnold, and he took all of the tight. And okay, so I'm trying to trade for a tight end, and all people will trade a tight end for is a Justin Jefferson, a CeeDee Lamb, or a Devontae. And I was like, I'm not trading any of those people for your tight end.
Hey, you know what? I like that strategy, but I'll say on a week-to-week basis. So I've done it where I looked ahead to the matchup against my opponent, and I knew that their tight end was on a bye week, so I knew they'd be picking up a tight end. So then I picked up like the top 2 guys so that they would have to go and get like a Mo Alley-Cox as their tight end. So I've done that before, but never for a whole season. That's a pretty tough task for the whole season.
And another guy in our league, he has Kyle Pitts and TJ Hawkinson. So I've been trying to get TJ Hawkinson, our friend Jalen. He will not trade unless it's McLaren. He says, I'll give it to you for McLaren. I said, I'm not giving you Hawkinson for McLaren. That's crazy.
He was telling me he needs a wide receiver, and he's holding out, hoping that someone will give him a wide receiver. I also told Jalen, you're in last place. I don't know what you're waiting for, but he thinks he can come back.
Okay, so Jim, if I have Mo Alley-Cox, who is a better option if you look at it? Is it Uzoma, Everett, or Austin Hooper, or Theo Jones?
I'm just thinking, right? I don't know. I mean, I still think if I were to choose, it would be Mo Alley-Cox or it'll be Uzoma. The problem with all of that group of tight ends, the only value is if they score touchdowns. And so in any given week, they might score a touchdown, but they're not going to be consistent. You're just hoping that they'll score at least one touchdown to make it worth the day.
My problem with Mo Alley-Cox the last couple of weeks, 1 point, 3 point. Oh my gosh, he's terrible.
Yeah. I wouldn't. So I would pick based on the defenses they're playing. So Mo Alley-Cox, the Colts are playing the Bills. That's pretty tough. Whereas the Browns are playing the Lions. So I think Austin Hooper might be your best bet there.
Who's Cincinnati playing this week? Do you remember? Oh, they're playing Las Vegas.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I would go. I think if I roll the dice, I would go with Uzoma.
Yeah, Uzuma's not a bad bet either. I was just going to say that too, because there's going to be, I expect that game to have a lot of points. That Bengals Raiders game is a really interesting one. And then the other big one, I think, is the Cowboys Chiefs, man. The Cowboys Chiefs both came off of 40+ point games. It'll be interesting to see if their offenses can keep clicking like that. We'll see.
Yeah.
Hey, Jed, Nick Chubb is trending in the right direction for Week 11 return. If that's the case, you're starting Dearness Johnson this week.
I'm still starting him. I think he showed you his value, and we know that the second back in Cleveland can get points, and they have a two-headed. It's not a committee per se because they definitely will lean on Chubb, but there's enough to go around. Especially if you expect the Browns to blow out the Lions, then expect them to sit Chubb a little bit and still lean more on their second back being Dearness Johnson. So I would still play him.
Yeah, but it really does show that you can find running backs anywhere. There are so many no-name running backs, Dearness Johnson, Ramondre Stevenson. You could easily get them, especially for NFLT, in a trade for a third round or fourth round and get a decent running back. Look at Elijah Mitchell over coming Trey Sermon.
Jed, my only hesitation about Dearness Johnson is Baker Mayfield is hobbled. He has no receiving cores outside of Jarvis Landry. You're coming back with a Nick Chubb who is just, had a week off and coming back from a serious injury. And so I sometimes feel like they're going to just let Baker try to beat them, even though he's hobbled, and they're going to really put a stop to the running backs. That's my thought. That's one of the reasons why if I have a better backup running back than Dearness Johnson, I'll find him. And I mean, you're just hoping Kareem Hunt's going to come back. I mean, he was supposed to get off the IR last week, but for some reason he has not come back.
Latest update on Kareem Hunt. He definitely is out in Week 11, but Coach Kevin Stefanski says he's close.
So my trade, just so you guys know, I just traded Kareem Hunt for Mike Williams. So I got Mike Williams and I traded away Kareem Hunt. I don't know if it's good, but I'm just rolling the dice on Mike Williams.
Yeah, I've got Williams playing this week. He's been he's just been hurting the last few weeks. He's just so inconsistent. But the Chargers, I mean, Justin Herbert really has had a up and down season, so he just hasn't been consistent. The other guy I'll mention though, Tony Pollard. I was just looking at our league, like who's available. Tony Pollard's still available out there, and Zach Moss. Those are both decent pickups. Zach Moss, you're hoping for a goal line pickup. Tony Pollard, you're still going to get some carries there, especially on third down. So, and that, as I said, that's going to be a high scoring game. So Tony Pollard might be the way to go there.
Yeah. A couple of news for you guys to pay attention to. Allen Robinson did not practice Thursday for the second consecutive day. He has a hamstring. But again, Darnell Mooney now is a wide receiver to own in that one. Rob Gronkowski was a full participant in Thursday's practice. He's slated to play this week. Logan Thomas remains sidelined on Thursday, still without timetable to return. Ben Roethlisberger, COVID-19, did not play last week, is preparing like he's going to play. He has to continue to make sure that he tests negative on his COVID test. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, it looks like he probably won't come in until week 13.
Oh, wow. I did not know that about Helaire. So yesterday I was thinking Helaire was going to end up playing, and so that's why I didn't play Darrell Williams, and I played Harris instead for New England. Should have really kept up with the news.
Yeah. Hey, also,
guys,
one other thing.
Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert this weekend? Joe Burrow versus Vegas or Justin Herbert versus Pittsburgh? Right now I've got Burrow in there, but
Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I'll do Joe Burrow as well too.
Okay.
Yeah, Jed, before we go into your weekly picks, one more thing. If you guys do need a tight end, take a look if he's on there. Dan Arnold for the Jacksonville Jaguars. In the last 3 games, Arnold has had at least 7 targets and 60+ receiving yards. And he's been targeted in red zone. So if you need a tight end and Dan Arnold's sitting there, he's a good, decent pickup for you as well, too. With that said, Jed, I'd love to hear some of your weekly picks.
Sure. This week, as I said, there's some really good games actually out there. Some interesting ones. Green Bay Packers versus the Minnesota Vikings. Packers are 1-point favorites. That's a really interesting one. Can't figure out. I mean, the Vikings have been on a little bit of a run here. Obviously, the Packers, get Aaron Rodgers back, and so that's a tough one, almost like a toss-up. Not really sure where that's going to go. The game that I really like though is the Cowboys and the Chiefs.
Yeah.
This is going to be I'm hoping a fireworks game. The Chiefs are 2.5-point favorites. It's at their home stadium, but I'm taking the Cowboys. I think
Really? You don't think the Chiefs are going to continue the momentum from last week?
No, because I think the Cowboys defense is better than the Chiefs defense is the bottom line. I don't think the Chiefs can stop the run game of the Cowboys, and I think the Cowboys will control clock. And I think unfortunately that Mahomes this season has just been not good for him. So I'm expecting some of that inconsistency to show up, and maybe another pick for your guy on the Cowboys.
Ty Diggs.
Yeah, for Ty Diggs. So no, I'm taking the Cowboys here. They're 2.5-point underdogs. That's my pick for the week.
Yeah, got it. Hey, Jim, just so you know, the teams that are by Rams, so you're losing Matthew Stafford, Darrell Henderson, Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham, Tyler Higbee. Broncos, you're losing Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams, Cortland Sutton, Jared Judy, Noah Fant. Jim, here's a question. If you're desperate, I know a lot of times Chase Edmonds is out, James Conner is there. What do you think about Eno Benjamin from Arizona? Yeah. He had 6 carries, 1 target in week 10. Somewhat involved with, and look, he might be a good fill-in, especially with James Conner, and might be a great guy out of the backfield too.
Yeah, I mean, as he's somebody that worth looking at. I don't know if he'll do anything because the primary ball handler is still going to be James Conner. But I look at it and say, if I'm in a dynasty league, these are some of the people I want to take a look at, especially if I have space on my bench, is a guy like Eno Benjamin.
Yeah. Hey, Jed, I want to actually take a look at and get your thoughts on the Washington football team against the Carolina Panthers. Washington 3-6, Panthers 5-5. Cam Newton's probably going to start the games. The Panthers have allowed the 10th fewest points to running backs. So we were just talking about that. Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick, is any of those guys someone that you're really be able to look at as with high confidence this week?
Not high confidence. I mean, if he's a flex, like taking a chance on Gibson is not a bad idea. But yeah, like you said, this is going to be. I think Carolina is going to win this game. If I had to pick, that's where I would go. I think the team is probably rejuvenated with Cam Newton back. They just came off of a win. Christian McCaffrey's been doing well. Oh, and Robbie Anderson, by the way, let's get that pickup. If I think he's going to continue. I think you're going to see him continue to do well if you need a wide receiver. So I expect Carolina to win. But Antonio Gibson, I mean, the talent, if that's going into your flex or if you're desperate for, you're looking for a running back, you can get at Antonio Gibson. That's not bad at all.
Yeah. If you need somebody to sit there as a flex player, Robbie Anderson might be a decent pickup as well, too. Jim, I want to take a look at Browns 5-5 against the Lions 0-5. The reason I'm not even talking about the Lions, because we all know the only one you're looking at is DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson. We just finished talking about Dearness Johnson and Nick Chubb. The one that I want to talk with you about, in light of the fact that Baker Mayfield might not play, Donovan Peoples-Jones, 12 plus fantasy points in 3 of the last 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing against the Detroit Lions. You look at him.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would consider him. The thing that, and I was just reading about Baker Mayfield. He's so limited. They were saying that if they had a decent number 2 quarterback, he wouldn't even be playing. And so my only hesitation in starting somebody like a Peoples-Jones is whether or not Mayfield can even get him the ball. So I'm not sure about that. I'll play Jarvis Landry, but I just don't think. I think here's what's going on with Mayfield. He's injured. He wants to get his contract for next year. I think he's going to press, and I just feel like if he's pressing, he doesn't do well consistently. And so for me, if I can find another wide receiver like a Hunter Renfrow from Las Vegas, I'm playing that guy all day.
Yeah. Jed, 49ers 4-5 against Jaguars 2-7. Look, Deebo Samuel has been outstanding. Talk to me. George Kittle was really, really good. Talk to me about 2 players. Brandon Ayuk over at the San Francisco 49ers. But on the Jaguars, I will look at James Agnew. He has 10 plus fantasy points in 4 of the last 5 games. He has 75 plus yards in 2 of the last 4 games.
Tom, it's Jamal Agnew.
San Francisco 49ers. Jamal Agnew. Jamal Agnew. Talk to me about those 2.
Yeah, so I think Agnew, it goes along with the rise of Trevor Lawrence. People have, I think, slept on Trevor Lawrence. And again, if you're in a keeper league, This is a situation where you got to kind of see where you're at, because if let's say you're in the bottom half and you're starting to figure out whether that you're not going to make the playoffs, you need to start thinking towards the next season. And I think Trevor Lawrence is the kind of guy you might want to take a flyer on. This guy is turning things around. There's a lot of people who still think that he has shown that he has the talent and the skills to justify that number one role. So I think that's why you're seeing improvement across the board on the passing game.
Yeah, Tom, the other person.
Jed, look at this. While you and I are 1 minute, Jed. While you and I are talking, Jimmy's picking up Jamal Agnew.
That's a good. I mean, yeah, as a wide receiver, I mean, like I said, you're trying to catch the wave of the Jags passing game has been improving, and so now you're going to pick up on that. And I don't think that's a bad move.
Yeah, Jim, go ahead.
Well, I was saying, actually, I was just going to say that. I was like, hey, I just picked up Jamal Agnew. Well, I mean, but that's the thing. You're right. Because I sometimes just look at some of these dynasty leagues, and if I have a bench space on there, I'm going to look at potential players who's not going to do just well this year, but they're primed for next year as well too. So Agnew's one of those folks. The other person on the other side that I don't know what do you guys think about him? Jeff Wilson Jr. just came back last week, the running back. We don't know what's going to happen to Elijah Mitchell, because sometimes these running backs for San Francisco just get injured. And so I feel like if something happens to Mitchell, Wilson will be the next back up. So I'm looking at him right now and what his potential is.
Yeah. And just so you know, they have said, what do you call it? San Francisco loves Jeff Wilson Jr. So if anything happens with Elijah Mitchell, it will be Jeff Wilson Jr., way over the Hasty and also Sermon as well too. Aren't you guys love Wilson?
Aren't you guys disappointed by Sermon? I think everybody assumed he would be the Cam Akers for this year. I mean, he has not registered anything at all. I mean, he did play a couple games,
which means that he's screwing up pass protection. Like he is not able to pick up pass protection, which is really disappointing, because that, to me, that just comes down to practice, reps, memorization and stuff. So they're not, so it's definitely disappointing, because it feels like, as far as the actual running, that he has the ability. So that's
pretty good.
Yeah. Hey, did you guys just see this weird note that came up in Yahoo Fantasy? I don't know if you saw this. It said they updated the position eligibility for Godwin Igwebuike of the Detroit Lions. He went from a defensive position to running back.
Oh, really?
Isn't that weird? I was like, I've never heard of that. That's like such a weird change.
How do you spell his last name?
Igwebuike.
Oh, okay, I see
Detroit Lions.
Oh, yeah.
Because
he scores his first career TD on a 42-yard rush.
I was like, that's kind of cool.
Hey, a couple games before we wrap up, Jed, I want to talk to you about the Ravens versus the Bears. Lamar Jackson has been sick, and look, I mean, most likely he'll play, but let's see how well he does. But Darnell Mooney, are you starting him? Is he in your flex player, at least a flex player? Are you?
Week? Definitely a flex play. And Tommy, I'll be honest, and I'm breaking my rule here. I didn't pick them for my picks because I didn't want to jinx them, because I think that Justin Fields still has his signature game in him. I think this weekend could be it. The stars are lining up. Lamar Jackson is not feeling great coming in. They're playing at home. The weather is a little bit cool. I think it's perfect. Justin Fields is familiar from his Ohio State days. He knows he needs to try. He's been getting better each week. I think this could be Baltimore is so up and down. This could be the week that he pulls out a signature win. So, if you've got Mooney, put him in there. I think they have a chance to win this week. They're 4-point underdogs.
Jim, last question of the day before I want to ask your opinion about NBA basketball. Steelers against the Chargers. Look, we know about Deontay Johnson. If Big Ben plays, Chase Claypool, are you even starting him in your flexes?
I would consider it. One of the things I've noticed is actually a lot of people have dropped Chase Claypool, and he's available on quite a few wires. And so I think he's actually a pretty good pickup. Whether or not I'm going to start him, I think that's another question. But I do think if Roethlisberger is playing, I will seriously consider him. If Mason Rudolph is playing, I will not start him, because I think the only relevant players at that point might be Najee Harris, and then also Deontay Johnson. Now, I do hope that Roethlisberger plays because I got that tight end, and he does really well when Roethlisberger plays.
Got it. Hey, Jed, any last thoughts? Jim, any last thoughts before we wrap up here?
On football or something else?
Football, before we move to something else.
Okay. No, I'm good with football. I got something else, though.
Crypto?
Crypto.
Crypto.
What's something else?
No, Tommy's keeps telling me to go buy Roblox. And I bought, I didn't buy a lot of shares. I bought 15 shares of Roblox. And this is actually like really done well this week. I was like, it's up another 5% in early day trading.
I didn't realize they were public.
Yeah,
They are
Roblox
public.
is public.
Yep.
And Tommy keeps saying that we should buy it. So
Man, my kids, they love Roblox. They play it all the time. Oh, Tommy, you know how you were asking about a church in Roblox? My kids told me there's already one out there. There's one in there.
It looks like there's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, and they've been, and there's one or two that have been around for a long time.
Yeah. What about basketball? In light of all of the injuries, Doncic is out, Allen is out, Mobley is out, Anunoby is out. There's a lot of injury. Oladipo is still out. All of that. Klay Thompson is nearing a return. Who are some of the players that you guys are looking at on the waiver wire? Is it Karis LeVert I've been seeing on the waiver wire? What are some of the things that you guys are looking at in terms of players?
I'm pulling it up right now.
Yeah, me too. But I was going to say I'm in first place, so I ain't looking too hard.
Got it.
Well,
hey, go ahead, Jim.
The person who Tommy was because I picked him up, and so I have him in one team, but I picked him up. Dort from Oklahoma, the Thunder. He's actually really good. I'm looking at his just yesterday's game against Houston. He had 34 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists.
Yep.
He's actually like I'm glad I got him because I was like, oh, he's pretty good.
Yeah. Dort has been really well. He's your second scorer after Alexander. My problem is on my other league, it was between Dort and Karis LeVert. I did not drop Karis LeVert because I remember last year when I did drop him and he did great. And they do need a primary scorer after Sabonis. Well, Brogdon is there as well too. But I am regretting Dort.
Yeah. The other person that I think is gaining speed if you need some good rebounds and good free throw percentage, Larry Nance with the Trailblazers. He came over from Cleveland this past offseason, and he struggled early on trying to figure out what his role is. But the last few games, he's done really well. And Chauncey Billups, the coach, has said that he's going to give him more minutes. Yep. So I actually think that he's a pretty decent pickup for some people.
Larry Nance in the last 2 games, 16 points, 9 rebounds, 15.5 rebounds. He was the player the Bulls rejected in the Larry Markkinen trade. But, man, looks like they would probably need someone like a Larry Nance right now. And we all remember Larry Nance Sr., who played for the Cleveland Cavaliers on the Mark Price team.
Okay, going back to the Bulls, who would you rather want, a Larry Nance or a Derek White or a Derek Jones? I mean, that's essentially who they got, Derek Jones.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Larry Nance is good. Another player, Jim, to look at in Jed, Josh Hart. In light of Zion not playing, Josh Hart in the last couple of games, 18 points, 7 rebounds, 13 points, 12 rebounds. Then after that, he had one dud game, a couple of dud games. He had a 22-point game and a 13-point game. So Josh Hart is one. Alex Caruso is also on your waivers. He's not fancy. He's your seventh person off the bench. But he gets you a lot of assists, blocks, and steals. In his last game, he got 12 points, but 10 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. All around decent Draymond type of game. And in light of the fact that Doncic is out, your key guy to play, if you're able to pick him up tonight, Jay Brunson, who is starting out as a point guard over there.
Interesting. By the way, I was watching the Bulls game the other day. I don't know if you guys saw it. I was thinking a Kobe White might be somebody to pick up. But Kobe, and maybe he's just coming back, he just doesn't seem like he fits into that lineup really well. He just didn't do anything. So a Caruso, like having a Caruso and Alonzo Ball is so much better than a Kobe White.
Yeah.
The only thing, I didn't catch that game. I did watch Golden State though, because I was like, okay, obviously Steph Curry is having MVP type season, so I wanted to watch and see for myself. And man, if you haven't seen him this season, tune in because
Mhm.
he is really just playing lights
Yeah.
out. I mean, you can just tell he's just not thinking about where he is on the court. He's pretty much he can shoot from anywhere, and
No.
it's insane.
He's shooting from like behind the 3-point line, right? And so I was like, whoa. And it's all net too. It's not like backboard in net. It's all net for that guy.
Yeah, he's just very, very locked in. And that team as a whole is just super surprising. I mean, to be in the position they are and not have Klay Thompson yet, I mean, that's pretty scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was listening to the Brian Windhorst podcast, and they said the guy that really puts everything all together, Andre Iguodala. He is the glue that they were missing last year. He has gotten Draymond back on board. He has gotten Steph focused instead of just shooting all the time. And then you have a lot of depth in all the players. Wiggins suddenly is playing not only offense, but defense as well, too. It has gone really, really well.
I was going to say Wiggins to me and maybe that is the influence from AI, but Wiggins has been so much more consistent this year. If you drafted him, you're definitely getting way more value than what you drafted him for. He's been great.
Well, and also they have a pretty good bench, like Jordan Poole. He's actually pretty good, from a backup. So you're right. I mean, maybe having Iguodala, who the announcer or Barkley, it was Barkley, I think, who was making fun of Kevin Durant. They were like, "So you traded."
Oh, he died.
Yeah, he froze.
He froze. Anyway.
All right. Jim, you froze. Hey, we got to wrap up here. It is all of us have to go back to work, and we'll come back on Tuesday. And hey, just so you know, the Monday night game, again, they always put the Giants on Monday night, all right? They've been on more Monday night, and they're a boring team.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times they like the Giants over in the East Coast. They're playing the Buccaneers for this week's Monday night game. And so we'll see what happens. All right. See you guys later.
Okay. Tom, seriously, Roblox is doing pretty good.